Let's be real, most of you probably already know what Cuphead is at this point. Despite being an indie game, Cuphead has had immense popularity, selling millions across different platforms, and even making its way into Super Smash Bros. As a Mii costume. Can we actually just pause on that for a second? This game was so good that it got into Super Smash Bros. Not even Waluigi can say that, aside from an assist trophy, but, well, I'll save that for another day. Anyway, the game just got released on the PlayStation 4 out of nowhere, so I figured if I was going to give it a review, why not now? The game starts out with a cutscene, showing Cuphead and his brother Mugman in a casino. They're absolutely killing it with the slots, so the devil approaches them with a deal. If they win, they get to keep his casino. If they lose, he gets to steal their souls. For some reason, despite Mugman not being totally down for this idea, Cuphead decided that it was completely plausible to bet his and Mugman's soul. Honestly, that was kinda rude, dude. They inevitably lose and then beg for their souls. The devil tells them that they can have their freedom if they collect the souls of the people that have run away from him, and so the journey begins. It's not a super complex plot by any means, but the stakes are set high enough to make the rest of the game seem justified, which is awesome, because most platformers are like, yeah, see that guy over there? He took your bananas. Beat the shit out of him. The plot reminds me of something like the Looney Tunes. It has a mature vibe to it, but it's very kid-friendly. I couldn't help but get a strong sense of nostalgia from it, since most cartoons and stuff nowadays are overly censored.
There's a big shark in the water,
shark
dude.
coming to the left,
There's a
dude.
big shark! Oh, what the fuck?
Speaking of old cartoons, it's pretty obvious that this game is directly inspired from the old Mickey Mouse show in basically every way. The visuals are absolutely fantastic. Everything has this realistic, almost creepy vibe to it, thanks to every single thing being completely hand-drawn, and man does it pay off. You won't really be able to find another game that looks like this, like at all. It completely stands out from the crowd. Every boss has seamless transitions that scream with personality. There's so many little details that you probably wouldn't even notice, but they add so much to the experience. Like, look at the splashes of water that come out of... Wait, is this water? No, seriously guys. There's nowhere that confirms that the liquid in their head is in fact water.
Oh my
that's his face.
fuck! It's Illuminati!
What do I do? The music is just as good as everything else. Honestly, I'm just gonna say it now. In almost all situations, I freaking hate jazz. I thought Mario Kart 8's soundtrack was bland, and every time the game loaded, I groaned in disgust.
Mario Kart 8!
This game is one big exception though. Everything just fits so well. The overworld theme is catchy, charming, and it has this calm feeling to it. Which makes sense, because all you're doing is walking around. The second you get into a battle though, everything takes off in this frantic combination of instruments that fills you with sheer anxiety, which really helps the mood considering your heart is probably going 200 beats per minute by this time while you're screaming and dying, over and over and over. You'll notice this game has two trends that stick with it, from the start until the finish. Everything is really good, and everything is really, really, really hard. I may as well say this before I get into the gameplay. If you want to hear me take points off this game for its difficulty, then you should just head over to IGN, because I have no complaints. Everyone knows this game is difficult at this point, and if you don't like difficult games, you probably shouldn't play this one because hard is basically its genre. There's this controversy about the game's easy mode. You see, it offers one, but you can't actually beat the final boss unless you beat the rest of the bosses on a regular difficulty. I personally think that this is an amazing way to add a difficulty spike to the game for people that aren't that great at it. You can start out on easy and beat almost all the bosses, and then by that time, you should be good enough to beat at least the first boss on regular mode. The reward you get for beating the bosses on an easier difficulty is this new obtained skill. Seriously, try and beat the first boss. It's not easy, but I guarantee if you beat the next few bosses and then go back and fight it, you'll notice a huge improvement. The game doesn't baby you, but it can hold your hand for a little bit if you need it. I wouldn't consider this easy mode to be a punishment as much as an elongated tutorial.
Oh shit!
Let's touch on the actual difficulty of the game. I don't want to seem like I'm bragging or anything, but I didn't actually find it to be that hard, or at least nearly as hard as the critics made it out to be. Like, it definitely was hard enough where some bosses took me up to 2 or 3 hours, but I never felt like the challenge was completely impossible. I was constantly getting better and making it farther and farther, and even though I'd lose a bunch, I really did enjoy every single minute of it. The pacing is really well done too. Every boss feels like it gets harder and harder than the last one. assuming you beat them in the right order, which is another thing. The game isn't open world by any means, but in a lot of cases you can fight different bosses in different orders. This is super handy when you run into a situation where you've died on the same boss for a few hours, and you get really frustrated. You can go fight something else and come back to it later. I should mention that once you beat the game on regular difficulty, you unlock an expert difficulty, and that is like a whole new level of pain. Oh, dude, I'm dead!
I got you, dude.
I need a little bit of assistance. Okay, jump off of that! Like, the first boss becomes brutal. During my first run through the game, I didn't even know that the expert difficulty existed, and once I beat it on regular mode, I felt really satisfied, but I was also kinda sad. I really loved this game and I just didn't want it to end. Then out of nowhere, I unlocked a new difficulty option. I jumped straight into the first boss and then, well, I became sad again. Wow, this is really hard. The design of these bosses are some of the best I've ever seen in video games. They all have unique personalities that stick with you, and it's all displayed through the visuals that are just as daunting as the gameplay is. After you've beaten a boss, if you see a picture of them again, they will definitely bring up horror flashbacks.
All this new?
They're not happy.
She ain't either.
That's not good.
Oh gosh, she's Medusa now! She's fucking Medusa!
As far as the gameplay itself goes, it's extremely smooth. The controls are completely flawless. There's no lag on input, and every time I got hit by something, I hated myself because I knew that deep down, it was my fault. Except with super moves. Super moves charge up when you attack or parry certain enemies. We'll talk about parrying in a minute. When you get 5 cards at the bottom of your screen, you can use a super move. When you unleash a super move, such as this one where you spew your insides onto an enemy, dealing a bunch of damage, you come out of it with 0 invincibility frames. This leads to you coming out of a cutscene based move and getting hit. One could argue that you just need to time your supers very carefully. And while I agree with that to an extent, a lot of the attacks in this game require you to have borderline instant reflexes, which is impossible when this attack lasts a few seconds. You could get hit by an object that wasn't even on the screen when you triggered the attack. This is one of my very few complaints though, so it gets a pass. Oh yeah, and back to parrying. This mechanic is really nice. It allows you to block some enemy attacks with a risk-reward kind of situation. You could just move out of the way, but if you hit it, you get a huge charge to your super, and you eliminate an object on the screen, which is important when you're trying to keep track of like 100 things at once. You get to play battles how you want to play them, based on what suits your kind of gameplay. What's really cool is that the game actually allows you to customize your abilities and attacks as well. You have passive abilities, like charging your super attacks quicker, or making your dash attack give you temporary invincibility, and you also have different attacks that you can use as well. You can equip 2 attacks, and change between them during a fight with a simple press of a button. You also have different super moves that you can unlock and use. All of this allows you to create your own personal strategies for different bosses. If there's too much going on in a fight, you can use an attack that automatically shoots the boss, for example, no matter what way you're facing. It deals a lot less damage, but this way you can focus strictly on dodging rather than timing all of your attacks. So how exactly do you unlock these moves and abilities? Well, it's pretty simple actually. You just grab the coins in the running gun levels and then you spend them in the shop. What is a running gun level, you might be asking? Well, this game's focus may be on bosses, but there are also levels that focus on platforming. These are some of the most frustrating moments I've ever had in a video game. Similar to the bosses, these are really hard, except replaying them is, in my opinion, a lot less fun. I found that if I spent an hour in some of these levels, I would begin to feel pretty burnt out. I have to give them points for creativity though. Every level has different enemies and gimmicks that make it feel fresh, for at least the first hour anyway. Oh god, I haven't even touched on the multiplayer yet. If you thought Mario Party destroyed friendships, then wow, you haven't played this yet. Player 2 gets to play as Mugman, who plays exactly like Cuphead. It does change the way the game works though. Enemies get a lot harder, but to compensate for this, when one player dies, they turn into a ghost, and can be revived by having the other player parry them before they float away. So basically, both players have to die to lose. You'd think this would make the game a lot easier, and in theory it does, but there's a slight problem. If one player isn't as good at platformers as you are, and dies at, let's say the beginning of the level, you now have to take on a super powered up version of the boss all by yourself. And good luck with that. There are also criteria at the end of the level for getting certain ranks, one of them being don't get hit. Good luck completing said criteria with 2 people, because if one person gets hit, it counts for both players. There's also another issue that comes with this. A lot of the time that you're playing, your eyes won't be focused directly on your character. You can roughly see them in your peripheral vision, but you have to constantly be scanning the environment for tiny objects that could be coming your way. Because of this, if you're in a situation where both players are stuck in a tiny confined area, it's not hard to look at the wrong person and jump right into an attack. These aren't all really complaints though, as much as observations, as the endless revivals that you can do would make the game kinda broken without some serious consequences. I played this entire game with Dave, and I really grew to genuinely hate him in the best way possible. We have an entire Let's Play of the game on our channel, and I'll post a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. Eat my milk.
I do.
Is this milk or is this water? If it's not obvious by this point, I love this game. There's a reason I purchased it on my computer, and then the Nintendo Switch, and now again on the PS4. I find a lot of modern games just aren't quite for me. I miss the hard, action-packed retro arcade style games from my childhood, and this really did it for me. I hope this inspires more developers to take more risks and make more challenging games as well. I'll be buying the DLC on day 1 when it releases in November, and you can expect another review alongside it. Let's just hope it's as positive as this one. Thanks so much for watching this, guys. I know everyone says this at the end of their videos, but if you liked what you saw, please give the video a like and maybe consider subscribing to our channel. We may be just starting out, but we're really trying to put out some quality reviews, and well, we kinda need your help to do that. I hope to see you back for the next one.
Oh, dude! I was in her head.
And that is what it's like to play an easy game. Look at her, look how mad she is. Good. You deserve that.